Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another fun episode of Next to Madison. I am your host, Madison Malloy, and on today's episode, we got a doozy. We got a fun one. I am sitting down with the speaker, advisor, and author, Carol Enneking, and she is a phenomenal woman. She wrote a book called The Rebalancing Act, and we really talk about what it means to leave a legacy behind. Right? Not just a memory, because it's so amazing how quickly people forget people after they die, right? People move on with their lives. But a legacy is something you create that lives on past you. And so she talks about what it means to live a legacy. We talk about fulfillment. We talk about the feminist movement. We talk about the power of really validating yourself. It's a fun conversation and really kind of getting down to the who am I? And what makes me happy? That is definitely a question I don't ask myself enough. And I know nobody really else asks themselves enough. And also the busyness culture of how we're constantly saying, when people say, how are you? Say, I'm fine, I'm busy. Let's stop wearing busyness as a badge of honor. And let's really get to the legacy and who we are, to have deeper, more meaningful conversations so we can have more authentic and deep-filled connections with people to combat the biggest health epidemic out there right now, which is loneliness. So it's a fun episode. I will stop rambling and we'll be right back after this brief message with our guest on Next to Madison.
It's your host, Madison Malloy, and I have exciting news. My new product is now available on Amazon called Color Your Way to Abundance, a 21-day manifestation guide for wealth, health, and love. This unique coloring journal will help you manifest by coloring in the affirmations while you continue to repeat them. This will help activate these affirmations so they become a reality. Grab your copy today and relax, color, and start manifesting.
All right, we are back with our amazing guest on this episode of Next to Madison. We have got speaker, advisor, and author of The Rebalancing Act, Carol Enneking. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Madison?
I'm good. Thank you for coming to the show. This is going to be a very helpful interview for those who are listening, because we are really going to dive into not only what success is, but what being fulfilled is. And I think that's something that so many people are not living, So let's just start off with just your brief background, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, so I'm Carol Enneking. I live in Houston, Texas, and I have had a pretty varied career. And I guess the accomplishment I'm most proud of is raising 2 children to be amazing adults. But I worked in marketing. I switched over into learning and development, owned my own company for 18 years, had a sudden change in my life, and went back to the corporate world for a little more stability. The sudden change was a divorce, and I just knew I needed to return to corporate. So one of my clients hired me, and I did that for 7 years. So I've kind of got this unique background of being the consultant on the outside and the executive on the inside of companies. And I quit in 2023 and decided to write a book and do speaking. Along the way, I did find love again. I'm remarried very happily. And that's, I guess, my story.
I love it. I love it. And we'll talk about that too, because I think people struggle with love, and you found it twice. So good on you. All right, so let's get into it. You wrote this book, The Rebalancing Act, and it's got a subtitle. Share that with us.
Yep. Wisdom from Working Women for Success That Matters.
Okay, and you interviewed a ton of women. And what were some of the top things that you learned?
I think the biggest thing I learned, and I wanted to see how other people have done this and what we could all learn from them. And I talked to people from their 20s to their 70s and everything in between. I talked to men. I think the biggest thing I learned is that it's not just me. These things that I have struggled so much with are things that a lot of us have struggled with. And I think what was really poignant was just hearing the way that women came to decisions about how to how to direct their career, what to do about love and marriage and family. And many times it's those crossroads where you have to make some really bold decisions. And that's when you really find out what you're made of, and that's when you have the opportunity to do things better. And so there were lots and lots of stories about that. And of course, tales that made me want to cry and things that just had me so happy for these people. And it was funny because it kind of went viral. I started out talking to people that I knew, and then they said, "Oh, you've got to talk to so and so." And then they said, "You need to talk to my husband." And so the interviews just mushroomed, but it was really cool to just hear people tell their stories and be able to put those into the book.
So, what was one of the heartbreaking stories that you heard that stood out to you?
You know, it's funny because I struggle with which ones to say, because if I talk about things like where people were harassed or in abusive relationships, I don't want it to sound like it's a man haters club, because there were plenty of wonderful, heartening stories about people who did find amazing love and had amazing relationships. But we had women who like tried really hard to work on their career and ended up realizing even if they wanted to have kids, it was too late and it just wasn't possible. We had women who did have children and were in really high powered jobs, like at New York law firms. They'd gone to some of the top law schools, and when they told their partners at the firm they were pregnant, the partners were like, "We don't know what to do with you. You can take a little time off, but the workload's not going to change." And so that person, she had kids and didn't feel like she could talk about being a mom, much less say that she had to take care of something for her children. She made some brave decisions that helped her pave a different route for her career. But I think it was really sad to hear that women had to work so hard to separate work from the rest of their lives and weren't able to bring all of that together and be themselves and be celebrated for who they were. And I think that's gotten better, but I think that it's still somewhat prevalent out there. And I think, I heard stories about women not being nice and supportive to other women. There just were some like mean girl stories and things like that. And so sometimes I think we make it worse for ourselves, the way we react to things and the way we think, because by the way, we think differently than men do. And so it's hard to pick out one bad, heartbreaking story, but
So,
people have faced all kinds of obstacles and come out stronger, thankfully. But yeah.
so I didn't think I would take this interview in this direction, but we're going to go there because it's like
Okay.
on the top of my head.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the feminist movement.
Yeah.
And let's talk about when it started, and it really, really started to drive home in like the early 70s. Was it late
Yeah.
60s, early
Yeah.
70s?
Yeah. The early 70s was a huge time. Yeah, it definitely started in the 60s. There were, books like The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. That was in, I think, the early 60s. That
Yeah.
helped shape people like Gloria Steinem and some of the really strong feminists. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of good things to the feminist movement, but I think it went too far. As most
I
things that are
agree.
introduced, it goes too far. So when you talked about the people that you mentioned in your book saying, I worked so hard on my career and to make it on my own and do all this stuff, and all of a sudden then what I really wanted was taken from me because I ran out
Yeah.
of time, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, or I had the kids and now I, was almost indirectly being punished
Yeah.
for it. So
Yeah.
it's like it's this movement where it's like, okay, it's great for the first, your 20s and your 30s, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you go, well, what the fuck just happened?
Right.
Like, is this really going to, we're going to talk more about fulfillment through the other interview, but it's like, there's so many theories on this where it's like, okay, they designed it because they're like, oh, now we can tax two households. So now we get more money
Yeah.
coming in the door. oh, now we can take the mom away from the children. So now we can raise them in the school system. There's a
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
rabbit hole shit
yeah,
you can go down here.
yeah,
So the
for
thing
sure.
is, women, I think, especially like younger women, like if you're listening to this, it's kind of like embrace aspects of the feminist movement, but don't
Uh-huh.
freaking take it on and never call yourself, I'm a feminist, because it has such a negative connotation now. And it's
It does,
not
and it
that
and it really
positive thing.
it offends me when someone tries to tell me what I should believe and how I should think just because I'm a woman.
It,
Not all men think
amen.
alike.
Right.
I mean, and it's like
Or how you
I
should act.
can,
People tell me how I should act, and I'm like, wait,
yeah.
what?
It's
Why?
like I can want women to have opportunities for jobs, opportunities to use their God-given talents, but it doesn't mean we don't have the nurturing aspects that make us great moms. You know, there
Mhm.
you can't take away the things that make us feminine. And it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. You know, we have men, we have women, we could go in the whole discussion of genders and things like that. And I won't go there because that's definitely not my area of expertise. But there we as women think differently than men. We have our brains are firing on all cylinders all the time. Men
Hmm.
can compartmentalize. So when they're at work, they have the work brain. When they're, with their family, they're thinking about family. Women, I could be sitting in a board meeting and wondering what I'm going to put on the dinner table at night and who's got to pick up the kids from practice and when are we going to get the groceries, and I'm just constantly running this script in the back of my mind, especially when my kids were younger. and
Yeah.
and so and I think it was a female CEO that I interviewed who said, if you're going to outsource every bit of being a parent, why are you even doing it? Just
Mm.
because you have a great job doesn't mean you don't want to be a parent, doesn't mean you don't want to be there for your kids. And so, yes, the feminist movement gets it's kind of it starts to get difficult for me in a hurry because I don't think you have to be all one or all the other. It's being able to choose your path is great. Being able to work and have children, it's wonderful, but we have to stop trying to do and have it all. And by the way, you look back at the early feminist movement. I don't know about you, you're younger than I am, but it used to be we had these TV commercials, and I was a child of the 70s, so I would be sitting in front of the TV watching commercials. I'm sure you've heard the one, you've at least heard it talked about. There was a commercial for Anjali perfume, and it was a woman in her heels saying, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never ever let you forget you're a man, because I'm a woman, Anjali. And it was, I'm sorry I sang, it's kind of
No, I
ugly,
think you're
but
great.
but she's like strutting around, and I'm thinking, oh, so that's what I should aspire to when I grow up. And then the best was the tagline for the perfume was the 8-hour perfume for the 24-hour woman. And it's like, oh, because we don't need to sleep. Let's just go 24 hours. And by the way, no kids, no chaos, no unexpected things happening. It was just, you're gonna work all day, cook dinner, and look sexy for your man at night. And that was like 1975 or something.
Yeah, so it
And
was like when they were really kind of trying to push it. But yeah, I
yeah,
think it's similar because I think when I was in my 20s, it was almost like looked down upon to want to like find a man, get married, and stay at home and raise your children. Like that's what your parents did. Like that's
hmm
what your
hmm
grandparents did. Like if you were like, okay, you're capable of working, you went to college, like don't be lazy. When
right,
now it's like you get older and you're like, wait a second, like that's the hardest job that doesn't have a clock out button and
absolutely,
is the most underappreciated job. There's no like
yeah.
bonuses, there's no pay. Like women have sacrificed a lot,
hmm
and then the divorce rate is high. And then you sit there and you go, oh shit, like I sacrificed all this stuff. Like I better be getting something in return for it if
Yeah,
God forbid it doesn't work out. But yeah, I think it's that it's like your book title. It's this rebalancing act to where people need to just sit there and say, you know what? It doesn't matter what what the media thinks, what my colleagues think, what my friends
Yeah,
think, what my family thinks. What makes me happy? Is it
that's right.
not having a career? Is it being a mom and having a career? Because here's the end of the day is no matter what you do, everybody's going to have an opinion.
Yeah, they do.
And when
Eh,
you take their opinion, that's when you, I feel, get further. The more opinions that you allow to infiltrate your life, outside opinions, is when you step further away from fulfillment.
You're
Would you agree
exactly
with me
right.
on that?
Yes.
Because you
Yes.
talk about fulfillment, and it's like fulfillment is like fulfilling, like what makes you happy? What do you
Yes.
want your life to look like? And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people will live for we want validation, right? We want validation from our peers. We want validation from our family. And
Yep.
sometimes you just have to be like, fuck it. The only validation I need is from God and
Yep.
myself. And that's
Yep.
it. And it takes a lot of courage
It does,
to do
and it's so
that.
funny. You know, I had a lot of courage in the business world. I did not in my personal life.
I
And
think a lot
so,
of women feel that way.
yeah, and I would have stayed in a bad marriage for a really long time and until something finally happened and I couldn't stay. I learned he was having an affair and I said, that's it. And you know, it's just difficult. And I think sometimes it's more difficult because we have so many choices. So we do have
Mm.
these great trailblazing women who enabled us to have careers. Maybe sometimes I wonder if maybe I'm not as um, kind of immersed or involved in the feminist movement because I take for granted that I can work and I do have a vocation. And I think women back probably in the 70s and 80s, they were really fighting a battle to try to even be taken seriously. So I do
Well, they were all
recognize that.
secretaries primarily.
Yeah. And it's funny because I even have stories in the book. I have a young dentist that I interviewed, and I think she's in her early 30s, and she said she was like nearly finished filling a cavity for a man, and he said, "When's the dentist coming in?"
Oh
Because
shit.
he assumed she was the hygienist because she was female, and
Yeah.
so I do appreciate the trailblazers that have made it possible for us to have these career dreams come true, but we have choices and it almost makes it harder. Like after I had a baby, if I knew I had to work full time no matter what, I would have just done it. But I was kind of like, oh, maybe I could, stay at home, maybe I could do something part time. And so I really waffled a lot about what to do. And I found that in my life, when I didn't have the choices, that was when you just kind of hunker down and do it. And there are seasons of our lives where we've got to do that.
Yeah.
But I think we have this misnomer. First of all, everybody would talk about having it all, but we haven't even bothered to define what it even looks like. And you don't have to do it all to have it all. And having
I
it all is more about having what's important, not having everything.
Yeah. And I think that's like you hit home on something like that. Like I had written a script like years and years and years ago. And it was kind of about, like, can we have it all? Like what
Yeah.
is everything, right?
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
what it is like, okay, not ever even the man can't have everything. Not
That's
everybody can
right.
have everything, right? But it's finding out what everything means to you. So somebody could say,
Yeah.
I have everything. It goes back to the fulfillment,
I have
right? It's like,
everything I need. I have
exactly.
everything that matters to me.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not like everything to somebody else, but I think it's like I think, the feminist movement had a lot of positive to it to where it enabled us to have choice. It enabled us
Yeah.
to follow our dreams. I mean, I'm very blessed that I can follow my dreams, that
Yeah.
people take me seriously, that I can go out and do all these different things, which is great.
Yeah.
But I also have the confidence to like make the choices to pivot at any time, to write new
Yeah.
things, to create new things, to do things that, you know, I want to do. And do I feel fulfilled? Most of the days. there's
Yeah.
still a lot I want to do, and I haven't found like my perfect partner yet, and I know that like that'll be great, but at the same time like I'm in a season of single time, whatever you call it, and I'm loving
Single,
it.
yeah, singlehood. I was
I
a
love it.
single mom of teenagers. I mean, and I never
Yeah.
expected to be, but it was great to finally be able to make choices for me.
Yeah.
And it was a wake up call because I think before you started recording, we were talking about checking the boxes. And I swear it was like when I grew up, everything was told to me, and I just wanted to do whatever I was expected to do, what I should do. And so it was like, go to college, get a good job, get married, get a house, have a white picket fence, have kids, get a dog, bonus points if you can join a country club or the junior league or a
Totally.
sorority. And it was like everything was just check, 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 and everything went according to plan. And I never stopped and just took stock of, is this fulfilling? But I was the one getting lots of shit done. I was just go, 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 go. And then the worst, a lot of women, because I interviewed them, I know a lot of women do the same thing. You think, well, I may as well just do that because I know how, and it's easier to just do it than to tell somebody else how to do it or teach it. And then the worst is when women say, oh, well, I'm just going to do it because I know I'll do it better than everybody else. Like, I hate doing it, but I'm the best at it, so I'm going to take it on. And then they almost wear it like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm so overloaded. And
Yeah.
I didn't wear busyness like a badge of honor necessarily, but I was known as the person that you would go to if you needed something done. And
Okay.
in my, on my tombstone, it would have been like, she was really busy. She got a lot of stuff done, but they also probably would have said she was frazzled, she didn't have a lot of fun, she was pretty stressed out, and I didn't want to be known like that. And
That's
and
it.
that really made me rethink things.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because I'm guilty of like people will be like, "How are you?" And I literally will respond with, "I'm great, really busy." Because for
Yeah,
me, just the way I'm wired particularly, busy is a
yeah,
good thing, is
me
like
too.
I can't have too much time to think or else I start thinking things I shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I try to keep
yeah.
my head very focused. And
Hmm.
so I'm like, okay, busy is good. But then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I was wearing it. Like, am I wearing this as a badge of honor? Where it's like, how's a different way that I can say it? Like, how are you? You know what? I'm happy.
Yeah.
Work's going well. I've got my
Life is
buckets
good.
filled, but I'm
Lots of opportunities. I
yeah,
mean, it's not bad to stay busy. I will say I'm a
love
whole lot more
it.
productive when I'm busy. When I
Me
have time on my
too.
hands, I get lazy. And
It's
so I
amazing, isn't
like to
it?
have a lot going on, but everybody has different velocity.
Hmm.
Not everybody has the capacity to stay busy
Right?
like that. And
Hmm.
I really have learned, maybe it's just because I'm getting old, but I've learned to just sort of slow down and enjoy things more. And maybe it's because now I have the time to do that. I'm not totally sure why, but it's just kind of funny because
You're getting wiser, older and
yeah,
wiser.
yeah, and you think, wow, I wish I would have just chilled out some more and all the things, oh my gosh, don't even get me started about all the things I worried about with my kids and would they be okay and would they ever launch? And I mean, I can remember even potty training one while the other one was learning to crawl. And I was like, okay, I could manage multi-million-dollar budgets. And this potty training stuff it really sucks.
Yeah, it's like a
I was
whole,
like, I
it's a
don't know if
whole,
he'll ever get through it. And then it's like, okay, he's not going to go to kindergarten unpotty trained. He's not going to go to college unpotty trained. But these things are intense in a very different way when you've got these little humans that you're responsible for. And I I was glad to work. I was glad to have something, have an outlet for me,
yeah.
and I think it made me a better mom. So I don't,
I think that's the positive of it too. If like you're stuck at home with your
yeah.
kids all day, you might come to resent them because you wanted to actually like do something with your life and then they get older and now you don't have anything.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I think there's this kind of debate between the working moms and the non-working moms and the people who, people who choose to get really busy and people who don't, and all those kinds of things. But it was really sad. I read a study recently from Ohio State talking about the epidemic of loneliness, and it
Yes,
was
huge.
about parents, and it was working moms that were sort of the most lonely, the most frustrated. They're just totally
Right.
burned out. But I think so. Instead of all the TV commercials, now we have social media, and oh my gosh, the things people tell me on, like, women are competing to see who can make the most gourmet lunches at the preschool for their kids. And it's like, your kids aren't going to remember this. I mean, if that's your jam, if you're a gourmet chef and that's what you love, knock yourself out, do it. But I mean, if you're posting on Instagram just to make yourself feel better or
Yeah.
somebody else feel less than, you kind of have to check your motivations there. And
Yeah.
I think that the more we move into this digital world, the less we're connecting in real life. And I do remember, even, before smartphones and stuff, when I first had kids, it was a very different world. When you go through these transitions, maybe you move, you get a new job, whatever, new partner, it's a change. And
Mhm.
I think understanding that that is going to be a change and trying to find your groove is important, but you got to find your tribe. And whether that's other moms that are working, whether that's other, you know, uh, friends of your kids, their moms and dads. You spend a lot of time with those people during those children years, but it'll work out, but you've got to seek it out. And if you're spending all your time comparing what you're doing to everybody else on social media, I think it's just important to examine your relationship with social media and whether that's sort of becoming more of your relationships with other people than the real ones. I don't know.
Well, it's so true. I know, I think, I mean, like certain social media is getting a little more real, but like when I first started, like, people are posting their best pictures. And sometimes they're not
Yeah.
even posting pictures of themselves because they face tuned it so many freaking times. It's like, well, who the
Right.
hell is
Yeah.
that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like you're not getting this authentic. It's like, I when I was doing like comedy like full time, it was people would be like, you're always on yachts and on beaches and going to all these fancy places. I said, well, what do you want me to freaking post when I'm at Dwayne Reed buying
Exactly.
tampons or like laxatives when I'm constipated? I mean, is this the shit? But now with TikTok, you do get more of the authentic people where
Yeah.
they're like showing up in no makeup
Which
and
is
that's
great.
great.
We need
Yeah.
that.
But it's
Because, like,
funny.
people do the same to me. They're like, "Oh, you look like everything's going so well." I'm like, "I've been spending most of my time in skilled nursing centers with my aging parents, but who wants to hear about that?"
But
So,
now so many people can relate to that, because they're going through it. So like now, like
yeah,
those are the type of authentic stories that like should be shared, that need to be shared. Because like when you relate to people in those struggles, like I think people want to run from their sadness or their problems,
hmm,
where it's like, no, like that's where growth happens. That's where
it's a great
connection
point.
happens. That's where this epidemic of loneliness can be combated, is that we don't want to burden people with our problems or complain. So we just say, oh, everything's fine, everything's fine. I do it myself.
Yeah,
Where it's like
yeah,
when you lean into that a little bit and you're like, okay, it's fine that I'm hurting. It's fine that I feel sad. It's fine that I feel frustrated. What can I learn from this? Like
yeah,
lean into it and be like, this is my power. I'm going to grow from this. I'm going to learn. Because you don't learn
yeah.
anything from success and all the shit when it's going well. You don't learn crap.
Yeah,
You're like,
you're
everything's
exactly
good,
right.
don't
Yeah,
change. But then it does, right? So it's like leaning into that and also just realizing that like everybody else is going through this shit too.
that's right. We
And
all
like,
have our shit.
yeah. And it's like you
Yeah,
talk to some of the richest people or like the hottest people or whatever they are. And like you talk to them and like they've got real fucking issues,
yeah, yeah,
so it doesn't go away. But it does come down to like your perception and your mindset, right? Like if you
yeah,
want to like be like, oh, I'm sad. Oh, my life sucks. And you just keep doing that and you do nothing about it instead of being like, why does my life suck? Why do I
Yeah.
feel, there's real power in like that growth thing.
Yeah.
So let's get
Yeah.
into like fulfillment because I feel like people are like, yeah, I think I'm fulfilled. I have a job, I have a house, I have a partner, I have this.
Yeah.
But they're really not,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, fulfillment usually for most people is not about the things you have. It's
Yeah.
about the feelings, the love, the support. It's all the emotions and the and really for me I use the word legacy a lot. And so I gave the example earlier of what people would have said, what it would have said on my tombstone. That would be a very long tombstone if they put all that description. But if anybody was asked to describe me, they'd say, "Oh, she was stressed and blah blah blah." But when you really start to think about what do I want to be known for? And when I'm out of this stage of life, or I'm out of this job, or I'm out of this world, what do I want people to remember about me? And when you think about your legacy, I think
Yeah.
it starts with that because that's a very big picture
I like that.
question. And then from there, you also need to be really clear on what you value most. And so one of the things that I had the opportunity to go through in my early 20s was a workshop where you set lifetime goals and you clarify your uppermost values. And that was so helpful because I never had done that. I really think I was defining my life by what was on my resume, what was our, and it's easy for
True.
young people to do that. It's like, what's my GPA? What's my relationship status? What's my, what do I dress like? What is my social feed looking like? It's all external things, but it's like, who am I and what matters most to me?
I
And
love
then
that.
when you're clear on that, you're able to focus more on what matters and let the other shit go. And so I've had to learn to say no to the things that really don't really bring me joy, don't really
Yeah.
matter to me.
Yeah.
And I've had to set some priorities, and I invest in the things that do. And so when you think of your time as an investment,
Oh my
what
gosh. Yeah.
what are you investing it in that'll pay off? And then what are you investing it in that will never have a payoff? But it takes getting away from the situation and doing some reflective thinking. And many of us, me included, for many years, we're so busy that we never stop long enough to consider those questions. And so for me, that's what fulfillment is really all about. And that's why I've rebalanced and really changed the way I approach things. Because if you say yes to everything, you kind of do everything halfway. You can't be great at a few things. And when you know what really makes you tick and what makes you unique and wonderful, and you focus on that, then you're going to get further down the road toward that legacy. But
Yeah.
you won't have all the margin in your life, or the white space, or whatever you want to call it, the extra time for the curveballs, the things that come up. If you're just so busy all the time, it's very hard when things don't go according to plan. And
Yes.
and so part of it is being agile enough to be able to change when things go wrong. Because that's my whole thing about balance. Like,
Yeah.
when are things balanced? The minute things are balanced, something changes. And so you've got to constantly be rebalancing, but it takes
Yeah.
thought and action. And it's much easier sometimes to just go through the motions and keep doing the same stuff. It's harder to
Yeah.
step back and say, probably time to make a change. Just like you said, with the person who's thinking, my life sucks, I'm unhappy. You got to get to the why. You
Well,
got to figure
right.
out what needs to change. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. Because it's always like, I remember saying this quote like when the new year started, and it was something I like, I don't care how far you are in this personal development world and author, like you're still human, right? Like you're still gonna have challenges and things. But it's
Mhm.
like, it was if you keep thinking the same thoughts, you're gonna have the same year. because
Yep.
your thoughts so determine like who you are, what you become, how you think about things, your perspective.
Hmm.
So if that doesn't change, then nothing changes.
You're
So
exactly
it's like,
right.
I like the way you look at it. It's like backwards, right? To where it's like, okay, I'm in this career and then, but it's like, what is the legacy I want to leave behind? Because I don't think people working in so-called corporate jobs, let's say, nothing, there's anything wrong with that. It's amazing. But like, they're working in corporate jobs. They didn't like start their own company and like take the risk, which is a
Yeah.
whole other animal, right? And it's not
Yeah.
for everybody. Trust me.
No.
I sacrificed a lot of sleepless nights and looked at a lot of park
Yes.
benches that I could have been sleeping on many times.
Yeah,
So,
same.
but yeah, but I wouldn't change it for the world. But
Yeah.
there was a point I was making to it. But I think it's nobody is going to look and be like, oh, they were a really good managing director.
Yeah.
Like
So it's like
they're not going to give two
team
shits about
member.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not going to be like, oh, he had a nice house with a big and a nice car. They're just not. I mean, maybe the big part, but they're
Yeah.
just not going to remember. You know what
I
I
mean, but
mean?
you can't take it with you. So, I mean,
This is true. You're leaving your behind. No, it's true. But I like the legacy. It's like the legacy
yeah.
really means like what did you create that's going to continue to add value? Who did you inspire and impact that's going to live beyond
Yes.
you? And that's what it
Yes.
means to create the legacy. Write the damn book if you want to. Start the damn company
Yes.
if you want to. Become the CEO if you want to. Create a scandal if you want to. That's another way to get remembered. You know what I mean? Like
It's true.
it's just because I think it's like yeah, it's just
Yeah.
this weird, but yeah, and then the famous question, like when you go out and meet people, what's the famous question? What is your name? What do you do?
Yeah.
And that was people, and this is true. When people ask you, what do you do? That gives them the level of determination. They determine how much respect and time to
Yeah.
give you. That's where that question is derived from. So
Yeah.
how do we spin that to where it's like we stop asking that question as like the second question? What is your name? What do you do? It's like, what is your name? And
Say,
where's your favorite vacation destination?
I mean, it could be any number
Or
of
like, what is
questions.
your
It could
best
be,
value you got?
yeah. Or what's the best thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours? Or,
I think if we start encouraging people to start with like I think it's like we should start like a movement and be like you can't
yeah.
ask people what they do until the fifth question.
Yeah, that would be
Fifth
great.
question.
Like, ask them, what's your theme song? What's your, what's your favorite whatever? I mean, just anything to, or just even saying, tell me a little bit more about you. And when you answer, what if you answered saying what you do in terms of how you're helping make this world a better place? What if you said,
Mhm.
I impact people. I help people figure out what matters most to them. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I love my family and my dog, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there's so many other things that are less shallow that we could connect with people about.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are in a world where yesterday I was driving in Dallas and I saw this billboard, and I wish I could have taken a picture of it. Traffic was stopped, but I wasn't that brave. But it had two people shaking hands, and it was like, or reach out for a change. And I was like, what do they mean? And it was, and then on the side it said something like, have a real conversation today. And I thought, where did we go wrong as a society that we have to have a billboard to tell us to have a conversation? How have we gotten to that point? Like, I
It's
don't get
true
it.
because we don't talk to each other anymore. It's
And
like
I
all the
know. And
yeah.
then when we do, it's all like, how quickly can we make our connection or get to our points and move on? And
Yeah.
so, what do you do? Do I want to listen to you? And it's so demeaning, I think, because you feel like if I don't say something impressive enough, they're on to the next person. But you know what? That also says more about that person than you. If they aren't going to give you
Well,
the time of day,
and
do you
it's
really want to
true.
waste your time with them?
Yeah, and that comes back to like the confidence and being self-fulfilled because
Yeah.
people don't and outside influences don't impact you as and like we all at as much. That's what I was saying. But like we all look for that validation, right? We all
Hmm.
want to be validated and be seen and be
Yeah.
heard and be acknowledged. But if you're expecting it only from the outside world, then you're never gonna be happy. It's like you have to seek that validation from
Yeah.
yourself. And it creates a lot of power when you can just step in and you're like, I might see something that like they don't like or they don't agree with, and maybe they don't, but like I don't care.
Right.
Like,
And, yeah.
whatever.
Because you're okay. I mean, my faith is really important to me. So
Me too, yeah.
I think placing value on something higher than yourself and realizing the world doesn't revolve around you. You're one little bitty bit in this huge life. And people are not doing things to you. My sister, it cracks me up. She works for one of the big banks, and somebody told her, they're like, my personal motto is Q-tip. And she's like, what in the heck is Q-tip? Quit taking it personally.
Oh, I
And I was
like
like, that's
that.
a good one. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
remember that, because it's so funny how we take it personally, like, oh, they're judging us, they're not thinking we're worthy, they're not, they don't think I dress right or look right or whatever. And I think if we realized just how little people really are thinking about us, we would probably worry about it a lot less. But people, we aren't just doing things to do things to people most of the time. We're just all kind of in our world, doing the best we can. And
We're all just
when we
trying to
can,
figure it out, and
yeah,
nobody has it figured out, and nobody will figure it out. That's the journey of life. And I think it's like when
yes,
we get to the end, we're like, shit, we got it all wrong.
yeah,
And that's the thing is like
hopefully not.
yeah, like, but everyone's just doing their best, even the guy
Yeah,
in with billions of dollars, he's still has the same needs that we all do too.
that's right.
Or the
And I've
person that
found,
doesn't.
like, if you can just try to make connections one on one,
Yeah.
try to avoid assuming anything about anyone, but try to find some common ground. Imagine what our world would be like if we approached conversations trying to just find one thing in common, trying to just be kind instead of preoccupied or running that commentary in the back of our mind about how how we value them. I don't know. I think we're just in such a
Yeah.
hurry that it's sort of taking away from true connections. We're getting really philosophical here in this
No,
discussion
I like
tonight,
it,
but
which just led me right into the fact that I think that society has lost their ability to listen. I think we have to learn how to listen again. I think we listen to respond instead of listen to understand.
yes, we do. We do.
So, yeah, I think it's that big thing. It's like, all right, because I think people are thinking when somebody's talking, like, what am I going to say next? Or what am I going to do next? Where it's just like when you listen, and like I've really worked on that. And that's why this podcast, if you saw my prep sheets, there's not really much on it. There's like nothing on it. And the reason is because my questions come in the moment
Yeah.
to
I love
create
that.
yeah. So it's like, I didn't know we would talk about the feminist movement. Like, I didn't know
Neither
we'd
did
be,
I.
you know, like, so it allows it to go into a direction that it needs to like drive that
Yeah.
value.
Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
good thing.
So what else? There was a couple things I had on my prep sheet though, so I'm gonna go through it. Okay. So I think this will be a good wrap up to this powerful segment.
Yeah.
How does one reinvent themselves?
Very carefully. No, I'm just kidding. Um, you know, there's a tendency for us to just want to take everything on at one time. And I do not advise that. I say one step at a time, just take the best next step,
Yeah.
pick one or two things you want to work on and commit to it. But I think having some help along the way is important. So, one of the things, so the book actually goes through 7 archetypes of the way women tend to show up. And so those are the types. Then we talk about the traps that you can find yourself in, and then techniques to get past those traps. So just reading the book, recognizing where you might fall into some of these traps can help you think about, okay, how's that really working for me? In the words of Dr. Phil, how's that working for you?
Yeah.
But that is some help right there. But it was really interesting writing the book and then having gatherings where we would just talk through some of the things about the book, and people would say, I just want to continue this conversation. And I'm also doing public speaking. And so in the very back of my book, it says to go to my website for more resources. And so one of the things I created is a legacy blueprint workbook. And it's meant to be just a self-study, 45 minutes or so, but it'll take you through lifetime goals, uppermost values. What do you want your legacy to look like? And just get you thinking about it.
I love
So
that.
it's free. All you got to do is get on the website. I think you've got to put in your email address or something, but it's free. You can download it. And so that was an attempt to try to help people get started. And then I also have some more goal setting resources at the beginning of the year when people were setting goals. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, how do you take these lifetime goals and then start thinking about the ones you want to
Yeah.
work on now? And so there's that. And I think when you just take it step by step and sort of help people make it easier to do these little things, it makes it less intimidating and less of a feeling like, where do I even start? So that's part of it. But I also have a group called Rebalancing Revolution. And it's a women's group
Love
for
that.
women who want to continue the conversation and support each other and be advisors and just help along the way. And so it is virtual. I want to be able to connect with women in different places, but we are
Yeah.
going to have some live events too. And we are going to have a once a year luxury wellness retreat. And so
I
it's
love
just
that.
getting started, but yeah, it's been, people have said they want to continue the conversation and have some more women that are like-minded that can help spur them on to be better. And so we're doing it.
Yes, you gotta surround yourself with the right people. It'll take you much, much further. So where can people find, what is your website? Give us your website, give
Yeah,
us
it's
all
my
your book, all
name.
that.
Yeah, so my book's available anywhere you buy books. It's on Audible and all the things, Kindle, all that. So they can buy the book anywhere. But my website is my name, and it's CarolEnneking.com, CarolEnneking.com. So they can find everything
Perfect.
there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you guys go check out her stuff, read her book. I know we talked a lot about women, but men, it's important for you to listen to this stuff too, because the more you understand women, the more you're going to get in the end. So with
Great
that,
point.
you got to, what is that? Happy wife, happy life, right?
That's right, right. And you know what? Women aren't the only ones suffering from these feelings of loneliness, feeling like there's more to do. I heard the same thing from the men I
Absolutely.
interviewed. So
Yeah.
it can help them too.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. Well, thank you so much for blessing us with this amazing conversation.
Well, thank you
And
for having
oh
me.
my gosh, of course. And thank
Really
you
enjoyed
to,
it.
of course, I enjoyed it too. It was a lot of fun. We
Good.
talked about a lot of different things.
We sure
And
did.
that's what's fun. So yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And thank you to everybody who's listening. We will see you next time on Next Madison to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.